Good morning. Thank you for tuning in for our Monday morning live update. I want to start out like we have the last few and give you a quick update on our patient who's at VCU Health. We learned over the weekend that he continues to improve, and over the weekend staff here in the clinic and others were able to help get him his iPad and reading glasses and some other personal items so that he can continue to rehab and feel better in the hospital, and we couldn't be happier about that, and so I thought you'd all want to know that. The other thing I want to do this morning is I'd like to thank Fletcher Lowe, resident in the Garden Apartments, for his very kind and supportive letter to the editor at the Richmond Times-Dispatch that's in today's paper. Thank you. It means a lot, and it will mean a lot to the community to know that the residents feel supported, feel safe, and that you're thankful for what management's done. I also want to take a minute. There's been a lot of discussion, email traffic, phone calls to me and to the whole team about what's happening in other senior living communities around Richmond, around Virginia, and around the country. And I know you all feel like we've imposed some pretty heavy restrictions on the community. I just start out by saying the restrictions that we've imposed on this community are mandated by the governor and are really nationwide. Every single CCRC in the country, continuing care retirement community and senior living organization, is under the same rules we are. We're not unique to have a positive case of COVID-19. And so communities like ours that have had a case are under additional quarantine, mandatory quarantines, which we've been enduring for the last few weeks or week. There is at least one other Richmond community that has more than one case. I think last I heard they have 4 cases. And that's really puts a fine point on the reason to quarantine. Is this virus can spread very quickly, it is very aggressive, and it is mean to the lungs of older people. And so we don't want you to be exposed to us who are having to go out in the community. And we're at a point now where we think we might have turned a corner in terms of getting everyone on campus, all the residents, safe. And so now we want to maintain that safety. And from our perspective, containment and closing the campus is imperative. There's also at least one facility in Williamsburg that has a case. And I understand that is also a single individual, and they think they have it contained. And then there are at least one, maybe 2 in the Hampton Roads district that has cases, and then there's at least one in Northern Virginia that has multiple cases as well. If you're tracking on what's happening nationwide, there's some horrific stories amongst CCRCs nationwide with dozens of people infected and numbers of people who've died. So it's very serious, and it's not something we can pull back from our diligence, and we don't intend to. And that there are a number of people who have said, when will we be released from quarantine and allowed to leave campus? And I'd like to take a minute and try the best I can to clarify it, and we'll keep trying to make this clear. We know for a fact Governor Northam will be announcing later today plans for the state of Virginia, Commonwealth of Virginia. In that announcement, we expect that there will be a plan for schools, and the word is schools will be canceled for the rest of the school year. And we do expect in the not too distant future, probably this week, that Governor Northam will follow the lead of California, New York, Boston, last night, Ohio, Maryland, and Louisiana, to put a shelter-in-place order in effect for at least a couple of weeks. And shelter in place is an order which really says you can only come out of your house, the public can only come out of their house to go to essential places of work and get groceries. Very little else. required medical trips, and that's about it. It's not all that different than the order we're under now, except it's more official and it's enforceable by the state police. And in a couple of states, they've already deployed the National Guard to help with that. So we expect that's where we're headed, not loosening, but tightening out in the broader community. And so I think we ought to expect this is going to go on for a while. I'd like to come back to what happens to those in mandatory quarantine here on campus. But before I do that, I'd like to just give you what we know to be the official counts for the state of Virginia. And these are yesterday's numbers, and new numbers will come out later today. But as of yesterday, the Commonwealth of Virginia, I'll always be growing up in California, everything's a state, not a commonwealth. In Virginia yesterday, we had 219 positive cases of COVID-19 with 32 people hospitalized. That number's likely higher now. And as of yesterday, they were announcing 3 deaths, but we know that yesterday there were 3 more. They doubled overnight. And we expect that number to escalate as well. These numbers will be updated later, and I'll keep you up to date on the numbers we're getting from Virginia Department of Health as we get them. Like I said, we do expect a shelter-in-place order sooner than later. And the outside world, outside these gates, is getting tight. It is a bit surreal. You can drive down Broad Street and see 2, 3 cars. There's really very few people out and about. The workforce situation from Westminster Canterbury and for the broader community is getting tighter as people get exposed. And this virus is moving through our community now, and people are getting exposed and people are getting sick, and that means fewer and fewer people can go to work. We must stay diligent for everyone's safety, and staff are committed to keeping you safe. That requires you to do your part to just stay put for the time being, and it's going to be, at least in my estimation, it's going to be a number of weeks before we're going to see the community start to open back up. So now let me talk about those of you who were here in the Sarah Bell November Theater 2 weeks ago tonight to see the Capitol steps. As you know, we put you under, or the state, not the public health department, put you under mandatory quarantine for 2 weeks from the time of that event. So you'll be coming out of quarantine tomorrow morning. So let me back up and say we've had essentially two groups of people on campus, residents on campus. Those that are under self-quarantine and those under mandatory quarantine. Those under mandatory quarantine are those that traveled, those that have been ill, and those in the Capitol steps. If you were a traveler or you were sick, your date is different, and you need to know, and we know what your date is. But for everybody that was at the Capitol steps, your date, your 14 days ends tonight, so tomorrow morning you're free to leave your apartment. You will be joining the other group, which is those that were never exposed. And everyone that's in that group is under what we've called, and the state is calling, self-quarantine. That means you're to stay in your apartment, but you can go out, get some exercise, walk. You can be out in the halls. You can go drop off your mail. You can drop off your trash or recycling. You can get outside for a walk. You can do things, but you have to maintain, let me say it differently. You must maintain social distancing. That means stay 6 feet away from anybody and everybody, and not to congregate in groups. Staff are going to maintain their distance from you. And so we're not going to be reopening any dining rooms or any common areas or any services because staff can't be close to you. And we don't have the staff to disinfect behind if we were to begin to use common spaces. Staff is working as hard as they can to keep this place disinfected and clean from us because we are coming and going. But we need you to stay in your apartments for your own safety and for the safety of the community. Because if you get this, you will get sick and you will spread it to others who will get sick. We are not ending the general self-quarantine, and we are not returning to business as usual anytime soon. The governor and the president are asking every single person with chronic health conditions or all of you over the age of 65 to self-quarantine. This is not my request, and it is a mandate from the government that we enforce this, and it's really for the betterment of everyone. Please continue to follow these self-quarantine measures so that we keep everybody safe. These rules apply to all of us, not just residents. Even staff have to maintain the same rules. We have to keep our distance from you, and if staff are going to be, if they need to be close to you, we're going to make sure we keep you safe, and so we're working on that. Just like we don't want you working in groups, we are holding all of our staff meetings via telephone, and we don't have more than 10 people in a room at any given time, and we have to sit 6 feet apart, which I can tell you is a challenge. We don't know yet how long this will last. We know it's stressful for you, but for the safety of everyone, we must insist that you continue to follow these rules for the foreseeable future. I'm just going to interject here. If you disagree with any of these, call me directly, and we can have a one-on-one conversation. But my job is to keep everyone on this campus safe from this virus, and we've done a reasonably good job of that so far, and I'm not willing to soften our position because an abundance of caution has worked well to this point, and we're going to get through this by maintaining that position. The best possible outcome for all of us is that we all take the measure seriously and nothing else happens. No one else gets sick, and the spread of this virus in Virginia slows and stops. Our goal here is to keep everybody, staff, residents, and families, healthy and safe. And the only way we can make that happen is if everybody takes this as seriously as I am and my staff are. So thank you in advance for your patience, your tolerance, and your diligence, because that's how we're going to be successful. And Westminster Canterbury has an opportunity to lead because we were one of the first to go through this exercise. Let's make sure we stick to it and we come out the other side of this being just that, an example of how good organizations prepare and follow through to make sure everybody stays safe. So thank you very much. I'm going to stop with that piece, and now just a couple of quick updates. And these, I know everybody's curious about mail. We are too, because our business mail has stopped. We are still working this morning actively with Abigail Spamberger's office. They have been very active on the phone with the Postmaster General trying to get resolution. This morning we were able to engage Mark Warner's office, and today we'll also be reaching out to Tim Kane's office to see what sort of movement we can get. The reality is this is a problem nationwide in every community of every type that has a positive COVID-19 case. The U.S. Postal Service appears to not have any process or procedure for how to re-enter a community that has had a case, and they've told their postal workers do not enter the building. And we're not allowed by law to take your mail and distribute it. It has to be put in your box by a postal worker. So some resolution is going to happen. It's a matter of whether it's today or tomorrow or Wednesday, we don't know. But there are a lot of organizations nationwide that are pushing on this. And we've gotten the attention of our lawmakers, and they can make it happen, and they will. But please be patient and know Russell Gardner and his team are working diligently to get this done. And just a funny note, Russell's been to the post office a few times, and he comes back and he's all worried because there's no grosser place on the planet than to be in the post office, which I don't blame him. And then pharmacy. We're trying our best to keep up with pharmacy needs. We're making some adjustments as we go. Residents should continue to call, or should call, the CVS at 6245. Again, call CVS at 6245. Residents you can pay for your prescriptions by telephone. CVS will deliver these prescriptions or any over-the-counter medicines to your door. A change, okay, where this is a change from where it's been, beginning today, over-the-counter medicines will only be delivered on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I don't know what it was before, but now over-the-counters will be delivered on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Prescriptions will be delivered daily, focusing first on delivering the ones that are needed that day. Prescriptions need to be ordered by 2 p.m. if you want it the same day. Residents will, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. We will do our best to keep residents updated as these operational plans change. CVS is working really hard to get you what you need. The resident, as we've told you before, the CVS phone lines have just been overloaded statewide, and that includes for Westminster Canterbury. And if you can't get through to 6245, try multiple times. If you just can't get through, call the clinic at extension 6231, and they will hand walk over your message, excuse me, to the pharmacy and make sure we get what you need. So again, call CVS at 6245, and if that doesn't work, call the clinic at 6231. All right? We'll be back at 3 o'clock with more and different information for you. But now I'm going to turn it over to Scott Jonte, and he's going to talk to you about dining and what's and his update. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody. Brief update on dining. As you know, it's an ever-changing environment of what we're dealing with. So if you remember back on Friday, I was real pleased to announce we'd set up a call system format within the Promenade Dining Room. And as always, when you're very proud that you've established something, something goes south, and it happened to do that on Saturday when the system kicked in. What happened was we had an IT glitch. The impact on the residents was this. Some residents would dial to the Promenade to place orders. They would hear music. Other residents would hear the automated voicemail and hear silence, thinking that they had been disconnected or wasn't sure what was happening. So later on that afternoon, Robert Mann, our VP of IT Technology, and a group of people got that issue resolved. So at this point in time, I'm happy to see that has happened. Everything on Sunday worked as it was supposed to, so we're pleased about that. We want to make sure we're delivering the best possible service possible. That's why I would really take this opportunity to remind all residents, it's very important that if you are going to have a dinner on a regular basis or any meal on a regular basis, it is in yours and everyone's best interest to sign up for an automatic delivery. This system is in place for you, the residents, to sign up for, or for family members who are watching this broadcast. If you have concerns about your relatives, your loved ones getting their meal, we can set this up for you. And this can be designed for the meal preference that you like. For example, some residents enjoy breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You can sign up for 3 automatic deliveries every day, and you will never have to call the front desk. We will call you back and confirm some information. You can even select the option of not being called back, and your order will be delivered. You can also set it up so that you only get dinner, which is arguably our busiest period of the day. This will enable all of us, dining staff, and primarily you, the residents, to feel confident in the fact that you're going to get your meals. Be rest assured that you won't get frustrated in calling down to the Promenade, having to wait for a message or for someone to call you back. It can be set up automatically. It's far easier for everyone, particularly with the high volume that we are experiencing. One issue that does impact all of us is when a resident does what we call cherry picking. And that is the resident or individual who calls up and has a meal Mondays, Wednesdays, maybe Saturdays. And that is okay. That works for some residents who are intermixing their groceries with the meals that we provide. I would strongly encourage all residents to sign up for an automatic meal delivery based on your meal preference for the rest of this duration. It will make your life, and particularly the lives of everyone else here on campus, particularly in dining, much easier. To sign up, you can go to DINE, D-I-N-E, at wcrichmond.org. Email that address. There are a number of us who have access to the mailbox. I have it on my phone, and I'm checking it every half an hour, and we can make sure that your information is cataloged correctly. Additionally, effective immediately, if you would like to talk to Shelby in the catering office at extension 6042. She can also assist you in getting signed up for the delivery system. She can give you some basic information. We allow very few substitutions, basically skim milk, 2%, and very few others because of the processes that we have to work within. We can better serve you through operational efficiencies by signing up for the automated system. Lastly, a couple things. We will continue publishing menus for 4 days out. Supply and demand, things are an ever-changing environment out there. Menus will continue to be seen on Touchdown, channel 970 and 971. The Promenade menu will be still housed in the Promenade dining menu folder on Touchdown, and we will continue to provide you printed copies of the menu for those residents who like to see things physically as opposed to digitally. Again, on behalf of all of us in dining, we want to say thank you for your patience. We are striving to provide you the best possible services we can. So with that, Glenn up next. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want to give you a quick word about scams. We have a population here that is highly targeted by scammers. There are new and emerging scams in relation to this pandemic. Some are trying to sell you tests, and some are trying to sell you cures. I have a few bullet points to go over with you to help protect yourself from scammers. Be aware of charity scams. Only contribute to established organizations. Don't click on links in emails. Never click on links in emails from sources you don't know, especially those that claim to be from the Center of Disease Control or from the World Health Organization. There currently is no cure or treatment. Be wary of offers for vaccines, pills, potions, lotions, or other products that claim to cure or treat coronavirus. Don't give out financial information. Don't give out your information or personal information to anyone you don't know and don't trust. Resist pressure tactics. Don't be pressured into making immediate financial decisions. And know who you can trust. Consult with a trusted friend or family member before making a payment. You can always reach out to me. I can be that trusted person. You can call me directly at extension 6079. And we'll have a final word from Lynn McClintock.
Good morning, everyone. That was a lot of information, all very important. This is such an unprecedented journey that we are on. I've been thinking about how, at least in most of our lifetimes, in times of great communal crises, people tend to want to gather together. We find comfort and solace in being together. It can make us feel safe and protected, and it's really a natural, primal instinct. Think about the 9/11 tragedy. In the days following 9/11, our churches and synagogues and other places of worship were brimming with people. We were all together because we were anxious, confused, angry, or scared. Through all of those weeks and months of uncertainty after 9/11, we were drawn together to be in community. We worshiped, we prayed, we sang, we hugged, we talked. At Westminster Canterbury after 9/11, there was a worship service. Some of you were undoubtedly here then and remember how reassuring and uplifting it was to be together as a community. And if we had had any other kind of national crisis other than literally a global pandemic, this theater where I stand today, where it's empty, would not be empty because those of you who could be here would be. in a severe national crisis, if we possibly could, we would be together seeking strength and grounding with one another. But this crisis is different. This crisis pulls us apart physically, and that is really hard. Our natural impulse is want to be together when we're unsettled. But please know that keeping distance from each other at this time is an act of love. It's a self-sacrificial act for the good of our community. I hope you realize that you are actually strengthening our community by making the active and important choice to stay away from others. That act of love is your contribution. It's what you can do to ensure the health and well-being of your fellow residents and your staff. I think we're finding out that this challenge is really revealing the soul of our community. We are wise, we're resilient, we're loving, and we're strong. We are thinking creatively about how ways we can still be in community and create fellowship while keeping ourselves and others safe. It is definitely a new world for all of us. And we will figure this out as we go along, and we will do it together, even if we are absent, just in body, but not in spirit, one from the other. A scripture that I would share with you today is Ecclesiastes 3, 1 through 8. Listen for the word of God. For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. If you like, please pray with me. Gracious and loving God, we thank you for the life that you give us and that you promise always to be with us. We boldly pray for an end to this pandemic, which has taken many lives and has altered the world as we know it. May there be a cure, may there be a treatment. May those who have lost loved ones be comforted. May those who are sick be healed. May those who are well be protected. And may those who provide care be strengthened. Your word tells us that there is a time for everything. Teach us, dear Lord, how to be faithful in this time, for we place our trust in you. Amen. Be well, friends, and we'll see you again at 3 o'clock this afternoon.